Alright, if you're one of those dudes that's always on about movies having no originality anymore and everything's just sequels or remakes, I swear to God, if you're not in the theater watching this movie, then you only have yourself to blame for this shit.
What happens after 90 seconds?
Don't want to stay.
Talk to Me is a 2022 horror film written by Danny Filippo and Bill Heinzman. Danny and his twin brother Michael directed their debut feature together, which has just gotten a wide theatrical release from A24. Good evening. My name's Evan and welcome to Rocklin Graves. I'm a few days late on this because I was away in Ireland for a week and a half, but since Talk to Me came out, I've been catching a contact high from all the buzz, and I couldn't wait to get home to finally check this thing out. And I've gone out now. I saw the movie at 10 p.m. after a full workday while jet-lagged, which I think paints a pretty clear picture of the effect of everyone around me talking about how I needed to see it as soon as possible had on me. Look, I walked into the theater tired and discombobulated from my travels, vaguely remembering one trailer that I saw months ago, and from what I can remember about that trailer, I thought it looked decent, but I wasn't really expecting anything all that memorable. But I walked out of that theater with newfound life. This movie is full stop one of the best and most original horror films in years. I feel completely comfortable saying that. It's one of those movies that reminds you how fucking awesome horror can be when it's in the hands of people with the creativity to make something truly unique. This is the kind of shit that gets me excited about the genre. Like, I feel so grateful to be alive for these last 2 years of horror because we've been blessed with so many gems, and now we get to add this one to that pile. Something that I really appreciated about the ride of this movie was that every time I thought I knew where the story was going, it veered off in another more interesting direction that constantly caught me off guard. That's not at all something I was expecting, because the trailer I saw left me feeling like I knew exactly what the movie would be, but the way this all unfolds is so much more unique than I was expecting. Another thing I appreciated was the absence of filler. This is a tight hour 35 and it wastes absolutely no time on even a single scene that doesn't provide some sort of story or character development. The thing that's even more satisfying about the way this movie handles itself is how naturally it establishes the characters as genuine people instead of cardboard cutouts. Like, you buy them as real teenagers after seeing them interact for like one scene.
Have you seen the group chat? They're doing it again tonight.
They never felt like full-blown stereotypes, and their relationships to each other felt equally believable. Just watching them interact on screen was a great time. There's charm, emotion, depth, and humor that didn't at all break the feeling of immersion. Sophie Wilde stars as Mia, and this is somehow her first credit on IMDb. I say that because she's a fucking powerhouse in the lead role. She's got a lot of ground to cover in her performance, and the fact that she pretty much nailed everything about this character is really impressive. Like, I would have thought she'd been doing this for ages. There aren't any sore thumb actors either. Everyone from the lead role to minor side characters delivered exactly what they needed to. Joe Bird was another highlight, and his scenes will surely burn themselves into your mind for a few days. I'm gonna get more into that in a second. Fucking Miranda Otto has a good amount of screen time, which was a nice surprise. Éowyn was one of my first childhood loves. The cast is just solid through and through, but I really want to talk about how this movie handles its scares. Thinking of it now, I'm pretty sure this is only the 4th Australian horror movie I've seen, and I've gotta say, those fuckers know how to do it. Ah! Okay, it's not as scary as that movie, but this thing got under my skin in such a disturbing and effective way. There are some truly horrifying bits of imagery in here that will surely linger for some time, but what I really love about the horror elements is that they don't at all rely on making you jump out of your seat with a loud noise or just doing gross out gags without building them up. The way this movie executes its scares shows a thorough understanding from the filmmakers of how to build up a moment and pay it off. There is blood, but that doesn't feel even remotely cheap or relied on instead of crafting scares. The violence is used to elevate the tension, it never breaks it. Fuck, okay, I'm not... Michael is staying put. He's on the floor now, and that's where he's fucking staying. There are some truly horrifying moments, but those bits aren't used as a crutch. They're used to accentuate the fear and raise the stakes. You grow to genuinely care about these characters, and then you see some horrific shit happen that feels more personal because of the way they're built up. I don't recall a single cheesy jump scare or any unearned scares. It's all very intentional and uses disturbing imagery and ideas to effectively get your heart pumping. There is also a beautiful lack of hand-holding that was such a refreshing feeling. You can tell that the filmmakers trust that you'll be able to piece things together without having characters flat out explain everything to you. All the information you need is there. It's baked into the visuals, the sound design, or the way certain characters are performed and the way their makeup is done up. This sort of natural storytelling causes you to be a lot more focused on everything that's going on because there's always some bit of information you can pick up on by just paying attention, and that was a really nice experience. And no, it's not an overly convoluted symbolism generator. I know that's the image a lot of people will get when a movie is distributed by A24. It just delivers information to the viewer in a much more natural way through visual storytelling, which makes it a far more engaging experience than if it just had characters explain what's going on. There's also not any examples of scenes lingering too long. Hell, maybe my favorite moment of the whole movie was like maybe a 4-second glimpse at something that probably took a lot of work to set up, but it's shown so briefly and then never returned to. That little moment elevated the tension of the movie so much, and I don't think it would have if it had lasted longer or been explored more. I've talked a bit recently about being tired of the constant, trauma and grief-centered horror movies, but this movie made me realize that what I'm actually tired of is the ones that just don't explore those themes well. It's not necessarily touching on trauma, although there is a bit of that. I think that just comes naturally with a lot of horror. This is very much focused on grief and connection, and it explored those themes really, really well.
I'm here.
It's all baked into the story. It's not added on top of it, and I think that's where the biggest difference comes from. There were a few emotional punches that landed really well because of the way things are built up, and I actually felt really invested in the story and seeing the characters through to the end. It's also very tonally consistent, which I found really impressive considering how weird some of the scenes got. Nothing felt out of place or jarring, but it did feel surprising, and that's a hard balance to hit. This is the kind of movie where you can tell that someone had a creative idea and cared about it enough to take the time to execute it thoughtfully. Talk to Me is an incredibly unique, creative, and disturbing debut from filmmakers that will, without a doubt, be getting a lot of phone calls over the next few months. It's scary, disturbing, emotionally engaging, funny, and leaves you with an ending that feels like it perfectly wraps up the story being told. This is the kind of shit I want to see more of, and it's really exciting to me that it's doing as well as it is. Probably my favorite horror movie of the year so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the Philippos have in mind for future films. They have mentioned that they wouldn't be able to turn down a sequel, and well, normally I'd say let it stand on its own. They've shown that they know what they're doing, and if they feel a sequel would work, I completely trust them after seeing this.
Talk to me.
So that's all I have to say about Talk to Me for now, although I'm definitely not ruling out a more in-depth video later on. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and let me know what you thought of the movie and the video in the comments. Thank you for stopping by Rocklin Graves. I hope you've enjoyed your stay.